On today's episode of the CLS Experience, we have a very special treat. He's a legendary entrepreneur and one of the original sharks from the global phenomenon hit show Shark Tank. He's the creator of the infomercial, the pioneer of the As Seen on TV brand, and he's responsible for over $5 billion in sales from his multiple business ventures. No big deal. He's a best-selling author multiple times over, and a staggering 20 of his companies have surpassed 100 million in revenue. He is a fierce disruptor, perfecting how to orchestrate a killer investment deal, and he's your favorite entrepreneur's favorite entrepreneur. He's just a juggernaut in all facets of life, whom I recently had the honor of sharing the stage with. Please welcome the innovative, dynamic, multifaceted, ultimate manifester, and gigantic thinker, the original shark, Kevin Harrington. How you doing, Kevin?
Hey, fantastic, Craig. I like that copy, man. That's pretty good stuff.
Like I always say, it's your story. You wrote it. I just said it.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
It was good seeing you in New York.
It was great to see you. And the funny part is we could have chatted for an hour before we record, but we want to save the juicy stuff for the show. But It was awesome to catch up with you in New York, see you do your thing on stage and so forth. And the best part about this is just the beginning of the friendship.
Yeah, I love it. We'll hang out and chat a little bit here.
That's it. And I know most of the audience is most likely familiar with you. We have over 1 million strong now, and most of them are entrepreneurs or in the personal development space. But in case you guys aren't, my biggest suggestion, go check out what Kevin has going on, his Instagram, his books, his website. What I think is most valuable right now today is just have an unbelievable conversation. Before we dive in, we're going to get a little weird. You ready for me?
Yeah.
Kevin, what is your superpower?
All right. What's that?
What is your superpower?
My superpower is that everyone that I meet, I figure out what is their superpower. And I focus then in a relationship in a camaraderie fashion, in a 1 + 1 = 3, because like me, I'm a sales guy. I'm a marketing guy, but I'm not a finance guy. So, when I meet someone that I know they're a finance operations person, that's a different strategy of dealing with them than if they're a product person, entrepreneur, whatever. So I think that's one of the superpowers, but it's an intuition, I think, that I have also. I feel that I can look at a product, and I've done over 1,000. And this is interesting, Craig. I failed on 700 of those 1,000. But what I learned about the failures, as well as the 300 successes, and those are the ones that did the billions, the 300, right? The 700 cost me money, but I have a philosophy to fail fast and fail cheap. So getting back to my superpower, it took years to develop this. You're not born necessarily with a superpower to be able to look at a product and say, this can make it, right? But I have that kind of capability because I have a 10-step checklist that I go through in my mind. So when I'm looking at a product, my mind is automatically doing all of that without me even I don't go 1, 2, 3. It's giving me and spitting out, and at the end, like sort of a yes or a no. Do we go? Someone has to make the decision. Do we invest in this project? And the buck stops with me. So, and the good news is, in the world of products, three out of 10, batting 300% is a good enough number to give you massive sales and profits and success. So, so that's the history that I've been through.
Yeah, you nailed it. And Kevin's got nuggets today. This is awesome. And what I love about you is you have so much experience. And the audience is for such a treat today. I know you're really, really big on mentorship, and as am I. But the interesting part is I used to have more of an ego and think I could do everything myself. Once I finally put that aside and realized that it's the fastest way and the best way to get ahead in life is to surround yourself with people that are a little bit further ahead. They can give you experience, perspective. And one thing I heard you talk about once, which I thought was really fascinating, was you'd actually rather pay and cut a deal for a mentor as opposed to have like an indirect mentor for free. Is that right?
Yeah, let's put it this way. I think I pay a lot of mentors, people that give me advice, right? And the reason I want to do that is because I want to be able to ask them for the best advice, and I want to be able to pin them down and ask them the tough questions. And I don't want their just like stock answers because it's a casual lunch that they might be having. I want to make it a working lunch. And so let's, you get paid, here's your fee. Now here's my 15 questions that I've got, and let's hit it. So yes, I have some mentors that don't charge me. And over the years, those have been very valuable in my life also. But there are sometimes that you get to a point where you need to buy some good expertise.
That's it. And also on that subject, you talk about the importance of being a good mentee, right? What are some traits that are good to possess for someone looking to be a good mentee?
Mentees need to listen. I much like you just said, Craig, about being stubborn and ego oriented in the early days. That was me.
I know.
I had a mentor, my father, but when I started my businesses, I was, the sales guy and this guy and that guy, and I didn't want to pay other people because, I thought I could make more money myself. But if you don't have some good people helping you as you're growing, I mean, I was scaling. We went from 0 to 55 million in sales our first year. Wow. And 8 months into that, we're cranking out over $1 million a week in sales. And I had a $60,000 CFO that was just way over his head and cost me millions of dollars in the process. So, me shortchanging having a good CFO for maybe 120 to 150, I could have had a great CFO who could have managed the growth and the scaling we were going through. But this guy was just putting stuff in boxes like returns, okay, that we had to issue to people. And so then they were charging it back, and then the banks were upset. And, so this guy was just a disaster. Yeah. Fortunately, we got rid of him and got the right folks in from there, but you learn the hard way. And so having good people around you, get the best that you can get. And by the way, there's ways to structure things. Even if you've got a public company, you can give stock options. If you've got a private company, you can give stock options or bonus pools, things like this. There's ways to create some massive upsides for the right kind of people that might need an upside.
That's it. Yeah. And this is so much fun and so exciting. And there's so many different ways that we can take this conversation. But like I said, for the audience, like, go catch up on Kevin if you're not familiar. One thing that you did that was really cool early in your mid-20s was you saw the opportunity for Discovery Channel. And I think this is a pretty good lesson for the audience, because the way you went about this, I think, is universal and applicable for other young aspiring entrepreneurs. Tell us about that.
So I was a young entrepreneur in Cincinnati, Ohio. It was the early 80s. So we're talking 40 years ago, just to put it in perspective. Television up until then was just a couple channels, 4 or 5, ABC, CBS, NBC, Fox, and an independent. When they had cable, and in 1982, cable comes to Cincinnati, Ohio, got 30 channels. And now 24 hours of sports, ESPN, 24 hours of movies, HBO, news, CNN. I get to the last channel, channel 30, and I'm all excited because I'm like, wow, this is, look at all the new content I'm going to be watching. There's nothing on channel 30, just these colored bars. So I called the cable company thinking there was a technical problem. And I said, hey, I really love this cable thing that I'm getting and all the channels and can't wait to watch them all, but I'm not getting 30 channels. I'm only getting 29. And they said, oh, the last channel you tuned in probably during the downtime. It's a brand new channel, Discovery. They don't have a budget for 24 hours a day. It's only an 18-hour-a-day channel. Now, when I say that, some people now today think, oh, yes, fill it with something, right? But who was thinking that in 1982? Okay. I was. So I went down to the cable company and started putting programming on there. And eventually this led to the products that we started creating and the whole world. I owned AsSeenInTV.com and AsSeenInTV Inc. And we were launching hundreds of products. And then, as I said, over 1,000 products. And we were selling these then in over 100 countries around the world. So yeah, we needed the right people. In fact, we ended up, this will put it into perspective, getting the right people. We had our business at its peak. We were in 100 countries. We had an office in London that did distribution all through Europe. We had an office in Jeddah, Saudi Arabia, and did business through the 20 Arabic countries. We had one in Sao Paulo, Brazil, and which handled all of Latin America and both the Spanish and Portuguese side, and then one in Tokyo that handled the Asia market, including Australia, New Zealand, et cetera. And so we had this massive company, but we were getting money in all the different local currencies. And so we were a public company. And as we were making our reporting, we're finding out that our cash, like maybe the yen changed value after we collected it. So now we're making our quarterly announcements. Well, we took a 20% drop on our value of our cash there because of the yen. So we had a full-time hedging guy because we were doing business in 100 countries. This guy did nothing but hedge money so that whatever we collected, we hedged it, that was our money. So that we didn't need to make money on it, but we weren't going to lose money on it.
Yeah, understood. And what a valuable lesson. And one of the many things I love about you is you think outside the box. Like you lean into being resourceful. And I think a lot of people where they don't see a path necessarily, they get paralyzed, but you look forward to that stuff. And obviously you exploded Celsius and you were in the beginning of Shark Tank, and that's all awesome stuff. And again, audience, go check out the stories if you're familiar. But I just want to pick your brain. I think getting access to you right now is what's most valuable. I want to talk about the power of believing in yourself, because there's not many people that I know, and I've interviewed some of the world's all-time greats that believe in themselves the way you do. How much of an impact is that for you?
I mean, I'm going to go back to when I was 15 years old. My father was a big influence in my life, and he worked an 80+ hour week running restaurants. He'd open it for lunch every day and close at 2:30 in the morning. And he was there that entire time, 6 days a week. And so do the math, it's a lot. And my dad, though, would on the weekend, he had Sunday off, he had a big stack of magazines and trade journals and Wall Street journals. And I'm like, Dad, it's your day off. What are you doing? He says, you got to stay on top of the industry, right? So I became very avid like that in reading and getting lots of opportunities and all of that. But I forget what you asked me, Craig.
The power of believing in yourself.
Oh, believing in yourself. So my dad gives me the book, Think and Grow Rich. Ooh. And, Napoleon Hill, his whole thing is, whatever you conceive and you believe, you must be able to achieve. And there's a few other steps in there. Another gentleman, Paul J. Meyer from the SMI Institute, his version of it was, whatever you vividly imagine, ardently desire, sincerely believe, and there's the believe word again, and enthusiastically act upon must inevitably come to pass. And so that's the motto that I live my life by. And it all started by getting that confidence reading Think and Grow Rich that I can do whatever I want. And I just believed it every day. Whether I was knocking on someone's door, I believed that I was going to be able to make that sale. And I was 15 years old knocking on doors. And so sometimes you have to move and shake and learn a little bit along the way. But it's that belief factor. I mean, if you think about the statement, whatever you vividly imagine, it's easy for people to imagine that they're going to be successful. And whatever you vividly imagine, ardently desire, you really want it. Okay. Yeah. Okay. I want it. That's easy too. Sincerely believe is the third step. This is where some people don't have the sincere part of it down. Okay. They say, oh, I believe. Do you sincerely believe in your gut that you're going to be able to make it happen? All right. Now, this is where they screw up. and if you enthusiastically act upon it. And this means you need to go all out, every effort to make whatever it is you believe in happen. And so many people fail because they may attempt to get there, but they don't enthusiastically, meaning you get beat up, you keep going, you get beat up, you keep going. And it takes that persistence. And if you have that persistence, it must inevitably come to pass.
You nailed it, Kevin. This is awesome. And straight up, like, yes, you have to be available for the abundance out there, right? And what does that mean? Like, you have to be a match for it. Like, you can't think it, but not believe it. You have to genuinely believe it and feel that it is achievable and become available for it out there. And I know this is pretty deep stuff when it comes to like energetics and stuff like that, but a lot of people aren't available for the abundance. They're walking around in like scarcity and limitations and so forth. And they're wondering why they're getting that right back. It's because the universe is a mirror. You have to be available for all that out there. Would you agree?
Absolutely. I mean, there's so much abundance out there, Craig, and it's a question of finding the opportunities. And for me, it's, when I created opportunities for myself, and I created an opportunity for Shark Tank to come to me, which it did because I had chosen to go build my brand. When I had a lot of business success, no one knew who I was. And in a mentoring session, I'm hanging out with Richard Branson one day. We're talking about branding, and he's a branded entrepreneur. And he's like, Kevin, you're not. And so, I took that advice and started writing books and creating content and speaking on stages. And who was watching? Mark Burnett. And so they were looking for someone with a sphere of influence. And so it's that persistence. I was listening to an interview with Gene Simmons the other day, and the guy interviewing him said, Gene, you've really had a successful life. He said, you pretty much seems like you've always hit the nail on the head, man. He said, that's congratulations. And Gene said, no, he said, hitting the nail on the head, that's just one time. He said, you got to hit it again and again and again and again. And I think he said it about 20 times, but, and each time you're hitting the nail on the head. And that is a successful entrepreneur, not just a one shot, hit the nail on the head. It's persistence and consistent drive that you got to have.
Yeah, this is great. This is gripping. And that segues into what I was about to ask you too, because one thing that you often talk about, and it's basically what you just said, is you have to be able to shake off inevitable setbacks because they will come, correct?
Yes. It's, I love some of the quotes that I've picked up over the years from some amazing people. Winston Churchill says this, that success is being able to go from failure to failure without the loss of enthusiasm. Okay. So I'm like, wait a minute, you gotta fail and fail and fail, but stay enthused. Well, yes, because failure you learn from. And I used to invest huge money into a project and take 6 to 8 months to develop them. And I put $250,000, maybe $500,000 over a 6-month period. And we'd fail 7 out of 10 times. It was like, model isn't looking good. All right. So I started saying, we got to shorten that test period and get something. We don't need to wait till it's 100% done. Let's test it at that 85% level and get a read on it before we don't need retail packaging if this thing isn't going to roll out. So let's forget the packaging, forget this, just get a minimal viable product that we can ship to the consumer. But we maybe now can do all that for $100,000 and do it in 3 months. So I say fail cheap, and fail fast, so that you can get to the winners. Because that third one that we did that did work was Tony Little's ab isolator that did $350 million.
No big deal.
Yeah.
And it's so true. I mentor, a lot of young entrepreneurs, and I see so many people are so afraid of failure that they don't even begin. I imagine you see a lot of people like that as well. What would you say to them?
So I remember when I first when I was 15 and I was starting a driveway sealing business, my father was very encouraging, and my mother was like, this is ridiculous. You should go get a job like everybody else does, you know? And I'm 15 years old. I don't know that none of my friends had jobs either, but I wanted to make money, you know?
Sure.
And so, but this is one of the problems you have as an entrepreneur. You go to raise money, you know what the banker tells you? First of all, no, okay, I'm not going to loan you anything. And why are you doing this, kid? You know, like everywhere I went, from my parents to my grandparents to the banks that I tried to get money from, they're telling you it's tough. It's tough. So this is why it's important that you have that belief. If you have that belief, you're not going to listen to all that white noise. Okay. And so keep going. In fact, it made me even stronger knowing that I had something to prove that I could do it. Right. And so my first driveway sealing business, I knocked on 20 doors and I got turned down by everybody. It was at night, people were eating dinner, they slammed the door on me. And I realized I had no credibility. So this is what I did. I went back and there was one nice guy that I went back over to that had said no. And I went over and said, look, I need to get one driveway done in this neighborhood to give me some credibility. I'm going to do yours for cost. And that's $20. I'm going to seal your whole driveway, seal all the cracks, beautify it. I just want to take before and after pictures, put a sign across it. And if you're happy, I want you to tell people that I did a good job. And he said, let's do it. So we did. And I went around the neighborhood again. We ended up getting 17 of those driveways because now we had the credibility. But I believed in myself and I believed I would figure out a way to make it happen. And once I did that, my business model changed. I'd do one driveway in a neighborhood, then hit the neighborhood. And I was off to the races doing 10 jobs a week at the age of 15, driveway sealing jobs. So it starts up here.
Bye. Talk about making every second count. I don't know if I've ever had like a more action-packed, purpose-driven conversation than we are now. And I know we're going to land the plane. I just want to ask you these two last ones. Of all the exciting things that you have going on right now, and you have a lot because I'm a fan and obviously we're friends. I know that you got a lot of stuff going on. What are you most jazzed about right now? And then also, if somebody wanted to work with you in some capacity, how do they enter your orbit to potentially get mentored by you, Kevin?
Yeah, sure. Thanks. You mentioned this. This is one of the products that I've been involved with recently. I got invited to be on this board when it was it had just restarted the whole company.
And for the audience, I can't see it. It's a can of Celsius.
A can of Celsius. Okay. Yeah. If you're listening audio only. And the stock was 10 cents a share. We were raising money. They called me. I got involved. I joined the board. I got in at 22 cents. And this company is now a $5 billion company. The stock went over $100 a share. And for me, I'm just proud to be part of a team that created a $5 billion asset from zero, sure. Literally. So that, those are great. And I sit on about 25 boards and advisory boards because I decided 10 years ago, and that's when I joined Celsius's board 10 years ago. I said, I don't want to be the CEO of anything because I'm too involved in running one venture. Let me be an advisor to dozens and have equity in dozens. And so that's what I do is I brought some strategies here to the table, and I brought Flo Rida and Khloe Kardashian, and I brought a lot of value as a board member, and so did the others. We had a great CEO and a great board. But the bottom line is that what I like to do is bring my sphere of influence, and just like you said, how can people get in touch with me? You know what? Anyone that wants to, tell them to reach you, or they can go to my website, but reach out to you, Craig, and then you make the intro because we'll make it, you'll know maybe some of these folks, and maybe it'll be better that you can give me some color on the background of some of the folks too, because I'll take your word for it as to the focus we should take from here. But the bottom line is that other, I just invested in a telemedicine company, and we have, it's prescription products that we sell for men and women online, from weight loss to hair growth to erectile dysfunction. I'm an investor in a roofing company. We have 600 dealers across the country based out of Columbus, Ohio. And this is called Roof Max. It's a spray that takes an asphalt shingle that's crinkled and cracking and replenishes the lost oils and converts it into a like new tile, supple, and evens out a crinkled tile just like that. And so it prolongs the life of the roof, basically. It's like you seal your driveway to protect it, you seal your decking to protect it, you paint your house to protect it, but people have never taken care of their roof, which is the thing that takes care of you. So this is an amazing business called Roof Max. That's another one of my ventures, and I could go on, but I appreciate hanging out with you here today. It's been a lot of fun.
Yeah, and what's awesome about, and I just want to give you acknowledgement right now, we're over 1 million downloads now, just over a year. The show is sponsored by a fellow shark, Mark Cuban, one of his companies, and the audience is so engaging and loyal, and they're going to be so fascinated with this interview because it's so obvious how excited you are about your projects and how jazzed. Like, obviously, unapologetically, you like to make money, but you can just tell, like, you are an entrepreneur to your core. And this was so much fun. Yeah. And I'm looking forward to building the friendship for sure. And Kevin, I want you to know you're the definition of perspective, reinvention, and growth. From taking your life experience to spreading positivity, light, and deep truths. You're a true gladiator, visionary, and role model for anybody coming up to their big goals and aspirations. I could personally guarantee your best yet to come. Keep on spreading your wings and leaving your mark in this world. So much love and respect to you. Thank you so much for stopping by and dropping these priceless nuggets today.
You bet, buddy. Love it, man. So good. 1 thumb up for you and 1 thumb up for the rest of the audience. 2 thumbs. Okay. Good job today. Really enjoyed hanging out with you. Let's do it again. And I'm sorry we had to cut it short tonight, but it's always a pleasure. And I can see we can do another one down the road here.
100%. We'll get you back for the sequel. We're going to stop the recording. That was so much fun. Thank you.
Thank you, buddy.
Yeah.
Really good, man. You're good. I'll tell you, I do a lot of these, and sometimes, you get to a point where I can see they're struggling a little or something, but you hit the nail on the head, as I said. Okay.
I appreciate it very much.
I'll see you in New York soon.
Yeah. I'll see you in New York, and we'll exchange numbers. Have a great rest of the day.
Thanks, buddy. Take care.
Bye, Kev.
Bye-bye.